As Protocol Thermopylae activated across global defense networks, Colonel Volkov's expression remained neutral despite the gravity of the situation. Automated defense systems worldwide shifted to maximum readiness, while civilian evacuation protocols initiated in major population centers. The Pentagon War Room transformed into a hive of controlled chaos as military officials from former rival nations coordinated their response through secured quantum channels. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, reported Lieutenant Commander Jasmine Singh, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The message is repeating in every human language simultaneously. Volkov nodded. They've been studying us, probably for decades. Across the planet, reactions varied wildly. Religious groups proclaimed the end times. Scientists desperately analyzed the limited data on the alien vessels. Military units mobilized with varying degrees of discipline. In Tokyo's Shibuya crossing, thousands stood motionless, faces tilted skyward at the obsidian monolith hovering above the city. In rural Montana, farmers loaded ancient rifles while staring at distant ships visible on the horizon. Back at Europa Station, Dr. Chen regained consciousness in the emergency shelter, where she dragged herself before the main habitat collapsed. Blood trickled from a gash on her forehead, but the data crystal remained secure in her pocket. Through the shelter's reinforced viewport, she watched alien crafts, smaller than Earth's orbital invaders, but equally menacing, systematically dismantling the research facility. "They're harvesting our technology," she whispered, recording observations on her backup system. "Not destroying, studying." Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Secretary General Okafor struggled to maintain order as delegates shouted over each other. The Chinese representative demanded immediate military action. The Russian ambassador called for caution. The American delegate sat silently, receiving updates through an earpiece. "We have confirmation," the American finally announced, silencing the chamber. The same ships appeared over Mars colony 30 minutes ago. Communications with the colony have ceased. On the lunar base Alpha, Commander Hiroshi Tanaka peered through astronomical instruments at Earth, his home planet now surrounded by alien vessels. His team had detected the ships approach hours before they appeared, watching helplessly as they utilized an unknown form of spatial manipulation to suddenly materialize in Earth orbit. "Sir," called a young technician, "we're receiving an encrypted message from Pentagon Bunker Delta. Colonel Volkov is requesting your quantum entanglement research." Tanaka's eyes widened. His theoretical work, deemed too speculative for serious funding just months ago, might now be humanity's best hope for understanding the invaders' technology. As the 48-hour deadline approached, humanity's response crystallized from initial panic into something the hegemony hadn't anticipated: coordinated defiance. Small acts of preparation multiplied across continents. Families gathered emergency supplies. Veterans dusted off uniforms. Engineers modified civilian infrastructure for defensive purposes. In the skies above, the hegemony vessels maintained their positions, occasionally releasing smaller craft that performed scanning sweeps of Earth's surface. They had encountered many civilizations before, but never one that reacted quite like this. Their initial assessment had categorized humans as primitive, fractious, and easily dominated. It was their first mistake. The hegemony's initial attack faced not the organized military resistance they anticipated, but a phantom opponent. Their energy weapons struck empty buildings while automated defense systems triggered targeted electromagnetic pulses, temporarily disabling alien scout ships. 3 fell from the sky over former NATO bases, providing humanity with its first captured alien technology. In his underground command center, Volkov studied tactical displays showing hegemony forces regrouping after the first wave of confusion. "They expected us to defend traditionally," he explained to assembled military leaders. "They don't understand that humans have imagined this scenario for centuries. We've been preparing for them in our fiction long before they arrived." Dr. Chen's escape pod splashed down in rough Pacific waters 200 miles west of Hawaii. A stealth submarine, the U.S. Barracuda, surfaced alongside the botting craft. As naval personnel helped her aboard, Chen clutched the data crystal containing her findings from Europa. The crew recorded unusual energy signatures before communication was lost, explained Captain Miguel Reyes as he escorted her below deck. Your research partner believes you may have discovered something critical. Chen nodded weakly, still recovering from her ordeal. Their technology employs quantum entanglement principles similar to Hiroshi's theories. The difference is, they've weaponized it on a scale we barely imagined possible. Aboard the Hegemony command vessel, Supreme Executor Xelthrak received reports of the failed first strike with crystalline features locked in what passed for anger among the Arcturian species. Flanked by representatives from the 6 other Hegemony races, Xelthrak activated a holographic display of Earth's surface. Their resistance is meaningless, the Executor announced. Deploy harvester units to primary resource centers. Begin with their oceans. The Navorian representative, distinguished by luminescent skin patterns, spoke cautiously. Supreme Executor, our preliminary analysis suggests these humans possess unusual adaptive capabilities. Perhaps we should. Your species was not selected for tactical assessment. Xelthrak interrupted. The Arcturian dominance has encountered thousands of civilizations. None have survived systematic extraction. Meanwhile, in laboratories hidden beneath Mount Fuji, Dr. Tanaka examined fragments of alien technology recovered from a downed scout ship. He worked frantically, aware that humanity's survival might depend on his understanding of the enemy's technological foundation. Their communication systems operate on principles I theorized 5 years ago, he explained to military observers. They're using quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across vast distances. A junior scientist raised her hand. If they're using entangled particles for communication, could we potentially disrupt that entanglement? Tanaka paused, eyes widening. Yes, theoretically, we could create a cascading quantum disruption that would sever their communication network temporarily. Across the globe, humanity organized with surprising efficiency. Former enemies shared military intelligence. Private corporations repurpose manufacturing facilities for defense production. Civilian volunteers organize supply chains and evacuation protocols. In Washington, D.C., the few remaining officials not relocated to bunkers established the United Earth Broadcasting Network, connecting survivors worldwide. Their first broadcast featured Colonel Mbeki, demonstrating how ordinary citizens could identify infiltration units using simple behavioral tests. As the Hegemony prepared their second wave, they remained unaware that scattered human resistance groups were already uploading technical data from captured scout ships to a shared global network. Each fragment of alien technology, each recorded energy signature, each intercepted communication brought humanity one step closer to understanding their enemy. And understanding, as Earth's defenders knew, was the first step toward survival. Admiral Helena Reyes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Leviathan, her weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of tactical displays. The submarine's advanced stealth systems, ironically developed during Earth's pre-invasion conflicts, now proved invaluable against alien detection technology. All vessels in position, her communications officer reported. The Chinese Jialong-class submarines have reached their designated coordinates. Russian and Indian vessels confirm readiness. Reyes nodded, studying the massive alien harvesting facility visible through specialized periscope feeds. The hexagonal structure pulsed with unearthly energy as it processed seawater into concentrated resources for hegemony ships. Each extraction cycle dropped Pacific sea levels by measurable increments. Begin synchronized approach, she ordered. Maintain depth at 1,200 meters. Their sensor blind spots are most pronounced there, according to Dr. Chen's data. Beneath the churning Pacific waves, 27 submarines from former rival nations executed a coordinated attack pattern never before attempted in human military history. The vessels moved in perfect synchronization, exploiting the specific harmonic frequencies that created detection shadows in hegemony sensor systems. Inside the harvesting facility, Zelthrak monitored extraction progress with cold efficiency. The Arcturian commander stood nearly 9 feet tall, crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the facility's ambient light in fractured patterns. Extraction efficiency exceeds projections, reported the subordinate. This world's hydrosphere contains exceptional mineral densities. The primitives' resistance was merely an aberration, Zelthrak responded. Their continued existence is. Warning signals interrupted as the facility's external sensors detected movement. Before defenses could fully activate, specially modified torpedoes struck the structure's underwater support pylons. The explosives had been redesigned based on captured alien technology, creating energy pulses that disrupted the facility's integrity fields. Damage to sectors 7 through 12. A frantic technician reported as emergency containment fields activated. Unknown weapons technology detected. On the Leviathan, Rise watched as the first strike created cascading failures across the alien structure. Second wave, launch now, she commanded. The submarine vibrated as its remaining torpedoes launched toward newly exposed vulnerabilities in the facility's understructure. Throughout the battle zone, other submarines executed similar strikes, their captains following the meticulously planned attack sequence. The ocean boiled with energy discharges as hegemony defensive systems activated, sending concentrated energy beams through the water that instantly vaporized anything they touched. 3 submarines were lost in the first counterattack, 4 more in the second. But the coordinated human assault had achieved surprising success against the previously impervious alien technology. The Leviathan shuddered violently as a glancing energy beam compromised its outer hull. Warning klaxons blared as compartments began flooding. All personnel to escape vessels, Rise ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. As her crew evacuated, she manually adjusted the submarine's trajectory, targeting the facility's main intake valve, its most vulnerable point according to Chen's analysis. Transmit all battle data to command. She instructed her remaining communications officer. Tell them we've confirmed the vulnerability. As the crippled submarine accelerated toward its target, Rise studied the tactical display one final time. Across the battle zone, other submarines were inflicting significant damage on the alien facility. For the first time, the invincible hegemony faced a genuine setback. In her final moments, Admiral Rise smiled. The ocean would remember this day. Colonel Aisha Mbiki paced the length of the underground testing facility, observing as technicians processed the latest infiltrator capture. The biomechanical entity, indistinguishable from humans through conventional scanning, sat motionless in a reinforced chamber as testing protocols initiated. Begin cultural immersion sequence, Mbiki instructed. On her command, screens surrounding the infiltrator displayed rapidly changing images. Children playing soccer in Brazil, wedding ceremonies in India, street food vendors in Thailand, family reunions in Nigeria. The infiltrator's eyes tracked the images with mechanical precision, its facial muscles attempting to mirror appropriate emotional responses based on predictive algorithms. Yet something crucial remained missing: the spark of genuine human reaction. Neural response patterns show anomalous uniformity, reported Dr. Sanvi Patel, the team's behavioral neuroscientist. Emotional mirroring remains consistent regardless of stimuli category. Mbiki nodded. Now the cultural reference test. A technician activated an audio system, playing snippets of regional humor, colloquialisms, and cultural references from dozens of human subcultures. The infiltrator's responses, initially confident, grew increasingly erratic as it encountered concepts its programming couldn't properly contextualize. It's the same pattern we've observed in previous captures, Mbiki noted. They can mimic our appearance perfectly, even our baseline behaviors, but they cannot replicate the cultural complexity that makes us human. Across the world, her testing protocols had identified 17 infiltrators embedded in military and government installations. Rather than neutralizing all of them, Mbeki had recommended a strategic approach. Feed deliberate misinformation to some, while quietly removing others, creating confusion in hegemony intelligence networks. Meanwhile, beneath Mount Fuji, Dr. Tanaka's team worked relentlessly on their quantum disruption technology. The prototype device, a silver sphere housing complex entanglement manipulators, sat on a testing platform surrounded by specialized equipment. The challenge isn't creating the disruption, Tanaka explained to military observers. It's containing the effect to prevent cascade failures in our own technology. His chief assistant, Dr. Eliza Wong, adjusted calibration settings on the prototype. Each alien species within the hegemony appears to use slightly different communication frequencies. We've identified the Arcturian primary bandwidth, but the others remain elusive. Their work was interrupted by an urgent communication from Colonel Volkov. Surveillance drones had captured footage of hegemony ships deploying what appeared to be orbital weapons platforms. We've intercepted partial communications suggesting a major offensive, Volkov reported. Our window for counteraction may be closing. Tanaka exchanged glances with his team. We need more time to perfect the technology. Time is the one resource we lack, Volkov responded grimly. How soon can you deploy a working prototype? Before Tanaka could answer, a young pilot named Diana Kovic stepped forward. Previously a civilian space tourism pilot, she had volunteered for military service after losing her family during the initial invasion. I've studied the alien command vessel's movement patterns, she stated, displaying data on her tablet. They follow predictable orbital trajectories despite having technology that should allow random movements. It's almost as if they're overconfident, Tanaka finished, studying her analysis. They don't consider us a serious threat, so they don't bother with evasive maneuvers. Kovic nodded. Using the debris field from destroyed satellites and spacecraft as cover, a small, fast vessel could approach within deployment range of your device. The room fell silent as everyone processed the implications of her suggestion. It would be a one-way mission, Volkov said quietly. Kovic's expression remained resolute. I'm aware of the probabilities, Colonel. But if Dr. Tanaka's device works, it might give Earth its first real advantage. The final briefing for Operation Babel took place in a reinforced bunker 20 stories beneath Geneva. Representatives from every major military force on Earth gathered around a holographic display showing the 7 hegemony command ships in their orbital positions. Each strike team has been assigned a specific target, Colonel Volkov explained, highlighting the vessels with gesture commands. Deployment of disruptor devices must occur simultaneously to prevent the hegemony from adapting countermeasures. Dr. Chen studied communications intercepts displayed on her tablet. Her language analysis algorithms had been working continuously to decode the aliens' internal communications. The patterns were becoming clearer with each passing day. The Nivorian vessels showed distinct communication patterns compared to the Arcturian command ship, she noted. Their transmissions contain what appeared to be embedded hesitation markers, subspace signals that delay or request confirmation before executing Arcturian commands. Volkov considered this information. Could we exploit this apparent reluctance? Potentially, Chen replied. But we'd need direct communication channels we currently lack. Hours before the operation's scheduled launch, Colonel Mbiki's counterintelligence team identified 3 infiltrators among the strike teams. Rather than immediately neutralizing them, Mbeki implemented her deception protocol. The infiltrators were subtly fed misinformation about launch times and targeting priorities while the genuine operation preparations continued undetected. In the spacecraft hangar, Major Kovic supervised final modifications to her specialized craft. Unlike the military vessels assigned to the diversionary assault, her ship had been stripped of all non-essential systems to maximize speed and stealth capability. Its hull had been coated with materials salvaged from destroyed satellites, creating a radar signature nearly identical to orbital debris. The disruptor is secured in the payload bay, Dr. Tanaka confirmed, completing his inspection. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion after 72 hours without sleep. Once you're within 500 meters of the target, activate the deployment sequence. The device will do the rest." Kovac nodded, performing her pre-flight checks with methodical precision. "And the detonation timer? 30 seconds from deployment. More than enough time for the cascade effect to initialize. But," he hesitated, "but not enough time for escape," she finished calmly. "I understood the parameters when I volunteered, Doctor." Across the launch facility, similar conversations took place as pilots and crews prepared for what many considered a suicide mission. Yet morale remained unexpectedly high. News of the successful Pacific defense had spread throughout the resistance, igniting hope where before there had been only grim determination. As Operation Babel's launch countdown began, something unprecedented occurred in Earth's atmosphere. Sensors detected an energy surge as all 7 hegemony command ships simultaneously adjusted positions, breaking their predictable orbital patterns for the first time since the invasion began. "They know," whispered a technician at the monitoring station. "Somehow they know we're coming." Volkov's expression remained impassive as he assessed the rapidly changing tactical situation. "Proceed with the operation," he ordered. "Adjust targeting parameters and launch immediately." In orbit above Earth, Zelthrak's flagship began deploying a massive structure from its undercarriage, the components of a weapon platform unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. The planet killer's deployment cast an eerie glow across Earth's northern hemisphere, visible even in daylight as a shimmering distortion above the North Atlantic. Scientists worldwide monitored its energy signatures with mounting horror as power levels increased with methodical precision. Inside the Manhattan bunker, Dr. Tanaka presented the quantum cascade device to the emergency council session. The sleek cylinder, barely 2 feet long, contained technology that represented humanity's most advanced understanding of quantum physics, enhanced by what they had learned from captured alien artifacts. "The device creates a controlled collapse of quantum states within a defined radius," he explained, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. "In theory, it will trigger a cascade effect in the planet killer's energy core, causing implosion rather than outward destruction." Council members exchanged uneasy glances. The word theory hung heavy in the air. "And if your calculations are incorrect?" asked the Chinese representative. Tanaka hesitated before answering. "Then the cascade could potentially extend beyond the target, affecting nearby matter in unpredictable ways, including Earth's atmosphere," the Brazilian counselor clarified grimly. "Yes," Tanaka admitted, "but the alternative is certainty rather than risk. According to our analysis, the planet killer will render the northern hemisphere uninhabitable within minutes of activation." While the council deliberated, Dr. Chen worked in an adjacent communication center. Using modified hegemony technology recovered from downed craft, she had established tenuous contact with what appeared to be Navorian representatives aboard their command ship. The aliens' crystalline features flickered on her secure display, their luminescent skin patterns shifting in what her translation algorithms identified as emotional indicators. "Our subjugation was not voluntary," the Navorian explained, their words processed through Chen's advanced translation matrix. "The Arcturians conquered our homeworld 3 stellar cycles ago. Many other species within the hegemony share similar histories." Chen leaned closer to the screen. "If we disable the planet killer, would your forces stand down?" "More than stand down," came the translated response. "Many would ally with your resistance. The Arcturians' control depends on their technological superiority and the belief that resistance is futile. Your species has already challenged that belief." Across the globe, families gathered in reinforced shelters, watching news feeds as volunteer pilots prepared for what many considered humanity's final stand. Children left treasured toys at makeshift memorials for those about to sacrifice everything. Street artists painted spectacular murals depicting Earth's defenders. Religious leaders of all faiths held services where former enemies prayed side by side. In Cape Canaveral, Diana Kovac reviewed the flight plan for the Manhattan Gambit one final time. Despite Operation Babel's partial failure, Valuable data had been gathered about hegemony defensive systems. Her small team of specialized pilots, survivors of previous encounters with alien forces, studied approach vectors that might bypass the planet killer's formidable defenses. The debris field from Operation Babel gives us additional cover, Kovac explained, highlighting a segment of cluttered orbital space on the tactical display. Their targeting systems struggle to differentiate between debris and small craft if we maintain specific velocity patterns. As she briefed her team, a communications officer interrupted with urgent news. The planet killer's energy readings had spiked dramatically. New calculations estimated just 28 hours until full power, 8 hours sooner than previously projected. The Manhattan Gambit would need to launch immediately. The Manhattan Gambit launched under complete communications blackout. Worldwide networks went silent in a coordinated effort to prevent infiltrator interference with the mission. Families huddled around emergency radios, listening to static and waiting for news of humanity's last stand. Colonel Volkov led the diversionary assault personally, commanding a hastily assembled fleet of retrofitted military and civilian spacecraft. Their mission: draw hegemony defensive forces away from the planet killer long enough for Kovac's team to approach undetected. "Remember, we're not fighting for victory today," Volkov told his pilots during the final briefing. "We're fighting for time." The diversion began spectacularly. Volkov's fleet emerged from Earth's atmosphere on multiple vectors, weapon systems targeting hegemony vessels with surprising precision. The alien ships responded immediately, diverting significant resources to neutralize what they perceived as humanity's main assault. Amidst this chaos, 5 small stealth craft slipped into orbit from a hidden launch facility in the Chilean Andes. Major Kovac led the specialized team, each pilot carrying a backup of Tanaka's device in case others failed to reach the target. Maintain debris pattern velocity, Kovac instructed as they navigated through the orbital wreckage from previous battles. Their sensors can't distinguish us from debris if we match rotation and tumble patterns. The approach worked initially. 4 of the 5 craft penetrated the outer defensive perimeter undetected. Then, without warning, automated defense systems activated. Energy beams lanced through the darkness, vaporizing debris and creating a deadly obstacle course. "They've altered their sensor algorithms," reported Lieutenant Suzuki, Kovac's wingman, moments before his craft disintegrated in a silent flash of light. 2 more stealth vessels fell quickly afterward. Only Kovac and Captain Chen Wei remained, weaving through increasingly concentrated defensive fire as they approached the massive planet killer. "I can make it," Chen transmitted before his craft shuddered under direct hit. "My controls are failing, but momentum will carry me." His transmission ended abruptly. Kovac was alone, her damaged craft barely responding to controls, but still closing distance to the target. At 800 meters, still outside optimal deployment range, a glancing hit disabled her primary systems. Inside her failing craft, warning indicators flashed across darkening displays. Environmental systems shut down. Propulsion failed. The only functioning system was the manual release for Tanaka's device. Kovac made her decision instantly. Overriding safety protocols, she activated the craft's emergency thrusters, a one-time burst designed for collision avoidance. Instead, she directed the burst toward the planet killer's pulsing energy core. As her craft tumbled toward the target, she activated the deployment sequence for the quantum cascade device. The cylinder ejected smoothly, its trajectory perfectly aligned with the energy core. Kovac watched through her viewport as the device entered the swirling energy matrix. For one breathless moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to fold inward around the planet killer. The massive weapon distorted, its structure collapsing into an impossibly small point of light before expanding into a rippling aurora that spread harmlessly across Earth's upper atmosphere. On tactical displays worldwide, hegemony ships suddenly lost cohesion as their command structure dissolved into chaos. Following Dr. Chen's intelligence, Earth forces simultaneously struck at newly identified vulnerabilities in alien defenses. The tide had turned. 6 months after the destruction of the planet killer, Earth showed remarkable signs of recovery alongside permanent scars. Coastal cities incorporated salvaged alien materials into their reconstruction efforts, creating skylines where human architecture merged with repurposed hegemony technology. Defense systems around the planet integrated captured alien principles, creating a planetary shield network that grew stronger each day. At the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in Geneva, Dr. Chen led the diplomatic delegation to formalize Earth's membership in the newly formed Interstellar Concord. Representatives from 17 formerly subjugated species sat alongside human delegates, their diverse physiologies requiring specialized environmental accommodations that human engineers had enthusiastically designed. The Arcturians built their empire on technological dominance and fear, explained the Navorian ambassador, luminescent patterns rippling across their crystalline features. Your species demonstrated that diversity and adaptation can overcome even the most advanced technology. In orbit above Earth, construction teams from 6 different species worked alongside human engineers to build humanity's first interstellar defense outpost. General Volkov, his uniform now bearing the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force, supervised from the command module. The station will serve as both shield and beacon, he explained to visiting dignitaries. Protection for Earth and sanctuary for any species seeking freedom from Arcturian control. The most emotional moment came during the unveiling of the Kovac Memorial in what had once been Central Park. The spectacular monument used salvaged crystals from hegemony ships, arranged to channel sunlight in patterns that created a perfect holographic image of Earth at sunrise. As the morning light struck the memorial for the first time, thousands gathered in silence watched Earth appear to float above the monument, a testament to what had been saved through sacrifice. Dr. Tanaka, his research now focused on merging human innovation with alien principles, presented the prototype of a planetary shield technology. Unlike the hegemony's weapons of destruction, this technology represented humanity's unique contribution to interstellar society. Defense systems designed to protect rather than conquer. We named it the Kovac Shield, Tanaka explained, his voice catching slightly. It embodies what she stood for, protection of life rather than its destruction. In the memorial's shadow, Admiral Reyes, who had survived the Pacific battle against all odds, spoke with an Arcturian prisoner of war. The alien, still struggling to comprehend the hegemony's defeat, questioned how humanity had prevailed against superior technology. You expected uniformity, Reyes explained, a single predictable response. Instead, you found billions of individuals thinking and fighting in ways your algorithms could never anticipate. Our unpredictability wasn't weakness, it was our greatest strength. As distant sensors detected Arcturian fleets mobilizing near their home system, humanity prepared not with fear, but with determined resolve. This time, Earth wasn't alone. A coalition armada gathered, human tacticians alongside allies from a dozen worlds, ready to confront the diminished empire. The final scene showed a classroom where children from 3 different species studied together on what had once been the front line of the invasion. Their lesson displayed on interactive screens, history of the First Contact War, how diversity saved the galaxy. The ultimate lesson was clear. Humanity's greatest gift to the cosmos wasn't technology or military might, but the unyielding spirit that refused to surrender even against impossible odds.